Good evening and welcome to the FE Bar, and boy do we have another special show for you tonight as we are joined by the wonderful Mark Preston, and joining me as ever is Mr. Jack Pickering. We will have an action-packed show tonight as you will get your chance to ask Mark any question about his time in Formula E as well as the future of the series and of course his plans with Lola for season 11 and beyond. If you'd like to have your say, get your question answered, then join our Discord and then you'll be given the Zoom link and you'll literally be able to come on the show and speak to Mark himself. Boys, how are we? Mark, absolutely, first and foremost, thank you so much for coming on the show. It means the world for us. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Getting ready for an interesting show, hopefully.
Yeah, it was good. I saw you in Monaco. I didn't get a chance to say hi. You were literally on the phone by the harbour front and you were walking. I was like, oh, it's Mark, I'm seeing you on Tuesday. But you were busy. How was Monaco for you?
Yeah, I liked it. I always enjoy Monaco. We won there twice, so, you know, it's nice thing, Jacob, we get the 1-2 there. But, yeah, we won there twice, and it's always good to see your drivers on the podium, no matter if it's F1, Formula E or anything in Monaco. It's always special.
Yeah, indeed it is. So the show's going to work like this. So what we're going to do is we're just going to fire through just a couple of quick questions while the Zoom call hits the Discord. So you should be able to now to hopefully join the waiting room, and then you will be able to ask your questions to Mark very, very soon. So while we wait and while people get themselves ready to join the waiting room, I've got this question here. Because obviously when you left Tech Cheetah, I suppose at the end of season 8, or when that sort of venture came to an end, you've quickly found yourself at Lola, and so I wanted to know, and obviously as the director of motorsport as you are, so when you joined, was the ambition always to take Lola to Formula E? Was that your ambition, or was that something that Lola pitched to you and then you said, yeah, you know what, I'll do this and I'll try and get Lola into Formula E?
I've been talking to Yamaha for quite a while, over the last 5 or so years, and I met Till in New York a year or so ago, maybe 2 years ago, and we started talking about various things we could do together. And so it was really joining up those trains of thought. His train of thought on the future of Lola, and basically, you know, thinking about as he said, the 3 pillars of Lola's reinvention: electrification, hydrogen, and sustainable fuels and materials. And so going into Formula E at the World Championship level was an obvious starting point, and things more from there.
Yeah, definitely. The stream was just having a little bit of a lag moment, but I have fixed the issue, so I'm hoping that it doesn't cut the stream. But the issue has been fixed. Apologies for the little lag spikes on our end. I've seemed to have resolved the issue. But yeah, I suppose... yeah, for you, I suppose, because you were in it from season 1, and I suppose over your time in Formula E, like, how impressed were you with the progression of Formula E, and maybe even now, like heading into Gen 3.5, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Like, how impressed have you been with its development? Because especially from Gen 1 to Gen 2.
Yeah, I mean, you got to sort of remember that it's hard to describe how crazy people thought we were. And if you look at, you know, many entrepreneurial things in life, there's a few sayings that kind of say, you know, if 100% of people think you're right, you're probably wrong, and if 100% of people say you're wrong, you're probably wrong as well. So you've got to find that balance where, you know, people think you're somewhere in the middle when you start something new like Formula E, and that's the bit that I think is hard to describe as to how much it changed since we first started. From people not thinking it was possible to, obviously, when we went 2 cars to 1 car, that was a big step. And now the cars, you know, more and more power, impressive things coming with Gen 3 Evo, with obviously the front powertrain. So, you know, first single seaters to really go full drive. So, you know, quite a lot of exciting things to come and happening, you know, as we move along right now.
Indeed it is. Pico, have you got any questions for Mark that you want to ask?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask because, I mean, like we've alluded to, you were in Formula E right from the start, all the way up until the end of season 8. What's it been like the last year and a half? And I know that you've been working on with Lola and Yamaha behind the scenes, but what's it been like watching Formula E as a fan, really? These last couple of years.
Yeah, that's interesting. Interesting question actually. As a fan, I mean, I suppose I'm into it, so I've enjoyed it watching it on TV. There's obviously been the new sort of peloton type races that have come along, and well, maybe we'll talk about that today. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
In this last couple of races, it certainly looked more impressive on TV. I suppose I've had more time to look at it and watch which races I think look great on TV, which ones don't look maybe quite as nice on TV. Obviously, Monaco, I think it looks great on TV, and obviously that was last weekend. So yeah, watching it from the outside is always useful because you're then taking ideas, asking opinions of people, asking people why do they watch it, why don't they watch it, and having coming up with various things you'd like to change when you get back into it. So maybe I've been a little bit of a pain with with some of the people in with Formula E because I'm kind of back with the person who's been out of it and maybe is a bit more opinionated on certain things, which is I think important because you've got to keep growing and getting better in any sport.
Indeed. Pico, anymore
Um,
before we go to our first caller?
I, I, a little interesting one because obviously you were with DS, throughout the majority of the time at Cheetah. Um, Now that they've switched to Penske, and we were all thinking they signed Jev, they signed Stoff. Stoff was the reigning champion at the time. We thought that was going to be the team to beat, and especially after preseason testing, we all went, "Oh right, this is their championship. It's pretty much over." Um, so and it hasn't really materialized with the Penske outfit. So I just wanted to ask from how different is the team from like the powertrain and how they sort of like intertwine really.
I mean, I think you've got to. I was on another podcast recently and we are chatting about F1, and obviously there's a lot of things going on in F1 at the moment. And I've always found that it's really a package. So it's a combination. Drivers, team, powertrain, set of rules. Do you have the right pieces of the puzzle in place? And I suppose when I first started in F1 many years ago, perhaps I thought it was all about engine power or something in particular. But you'll probably have some fans that watch F1 as well, and you'll see that it's not just about engine. It's not just about having the best driver. You've got to really have a package, and I think that's true of any sport. Football. Watching some of the Premiership stuff over the last number of years, some interesting things have happened there. So it's never just one thing, and so you do have to put together a package. And perhaps that's what's played out. I'm not quite sure what's happened behind the scenes, but definitely, the Porsches have obviously got a lot quicker, and Jaguar's got a lot of things together, but then they've lost various people as well, and we haven't had quite as many changes of driver as maybe F1's going to have in the next months. But certainly, there's been changes behind the scenes, and every little piece of the puzzle has an effect. And if you look back at when we're at Techeetah, Jev joined us in season 3 and stayed through to the end, and I would say we're on a positive gradient. If you looked at our results over those years, every year we got better, and every year we delivered more. So it does take not a lot of time, but it takes time for people to get to know each other, for drivers to get to know the team, for the manufacturer to get to know the team members, and all of that counts. It all adds up because everything is when you're in a sport where everything's all about perfection, then you have to have the best of everything in order to win. And one little piece of the puzzle not right, it's very difficult to win.
Indeed. You mentioned the Premier League there, and watching the Premier League. Out of just a massive curiosity, just a little change of subject. Have you got a team? Do you have a team in the Premier League?
Well, so don't forget I'm Australian, so I came
Of
across,
course.
when I was after university and stuff. So I'm actually more fascinated by the managers. So I'm a big
And
fan of.
And
Yeah, I was about to say Ange Paul.
No, well, I started when I first came to the UK. It was all about Alex Ferguson, and then it
Okay,
became
yes,
about
yes.
Mourinho. So I'm a big Alex Ferguson fan. Read his books and stuff, and watched Man U, over the years, and tried to take learnings that I could from, or at least what I thought were the learnings, I
Yeah.
suppose. from watching what they did with, developing young talents and all those kind of things. There's something to learn from, other sports and seeing if you can apply some of the things that happen in those sports.
But I take it have you been taking a keen interest in Tottenham then, considering Ange Postecoglou is there?
I have not. I'm afraid at the moment I've been too busy trying to get Formula E team started, so I haven't been up with all the latest football.
Makes sense. It's just because you mentioned it, I thought it would be interesting little side topic. Pico, I think it's Edison.
Let's get
should we
Edison in. Yes.
I'm just going to have to grab some battery power in 2 seconds. Let me just move this across here. Different view of the blurry background.
Yep.
We are waiting. Edison should be in. Edison, can you hear us?
Welcome to the
I can. Hello.
Excellent. Thank you for calling in. What's your question for Mark?
So mine's about the durability of the Gen 3 Evos front wing. Is it going to be more durable than what we've got in current Gen 3, where they sort of just fall off at the merest touch of a tyre?
It's an interesting one because obviously wings are designed to take vertical load. And, if you look at an F1 car, it takes a hell of a lot of vertical load. And obviously they try not to touch each other in F1 and many series. So it's kind of hard to design for the strength of a wing. So I'll give you an example. When I first started in F1, if you go back to some of the races, I'm trying to think if anyone's done it in the recent Formula E races, but when they come out of Rascasse onto the main straight, up onto the main straight, sometimes they touch the wall there. Mm-hmm. There was always an argument in F1 as to whether or not you should allow that, or you should design the car strong enough so they could touch the wall. Now, you talk to some people who say the fastest car is easy to drive, let's say, and shouldn't need to touch the wall. And then some people will say, but if you should design the car so it's strong enough so that it can touch the wall. So there was always this argument, I remember, over the years, which was over and over and over again, where someone would say the fastest car is lighter. It doesn't have the strength to be able to touch walls because that's not its job. So I know I'm not answering the question correctly, but just sort of saying it's a bit of a philosophical discussion as to whether or not you should design a wing in order to be, Robbins racing kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you go back to a NASCAR saying. So I think in our series, single seaters, it's a bit of a trade-off. And I think, if we're talking about the Peloton races, I think some of the drivers are getting a bit frustrated with how, in the middle of the pack there, how they're ending up in certain corners. And perhaps as time goes on, they, will find a way of racing together. If this type of racing, keeps happening, let's say, but because of the certain tracks we're on. So I know I didn't answer your question, Edison, but it's not an easy answer. I don't think there's one answer to that question.
Yeah. Okay.
Fair enough. Edison, do you have anything else that we'd like to ask Mark while you're here?
No, that was about the only thing I could think of at the time. It was a very last minute thing.
Yeah. No, I will say someone has put in the chat after all the Alex Ferguson chat that Lola needs to have a strategy with the nickname Squeaky Bum Time for next season.
Well, it'll be interesting. I'm sure we're going to have some interesting times. When you're starting something new, things don't always go to plan, but some people will say that on the TV I look like I wasn't very stressed, and I said to them, I've been through all sorts of XYZ over the years, and so I don't know. I think I've probably seen everything, almost. Probably not everything, I'm sure. So never surprised at something new.
Perfect. Well, Edison, thank you so much for your question.
Thank you.
It means a lot coming on the show.
Yeah. No, thank you.
I suppose. I think we've got a couple more, but we'll let the waiting room sort of fill up a bit.
Yeah.
I know there's a few people trying to get in at the moment. I can see on Discord. I've not managed to get in yet, so hopefully we can squeeze some people in. So in that time, obviously, if we look at Monaco, and I suppose maybe we look at Jake Dennis a little bit and what's going on there. And with Andretti, because obviously Andretti last season was super strong, obviously with Jake, and they came out of the blocks really quickly this season, and then we got to Diriyah race 2. Obviously, after dominating race 1, they really struggled in qualifying, and that problem has persisted. Now, have you ever had a situation similar to Andretti where the for whatever reason, you've got an issue and you can't resolve that issue, because both drivers, even Monaco, were like, we don't know what to do. And if it wasn't for the peloton style, they wouldn't be able to come through the pack. So, you know, Andretti are really scratching their head at the moment. Have you been in a similar situation? Like, what does a team do in that situation to try and resolve that problem?
You just start praying. No, no. I've got a favorite saying that from Ron Dennis at McLaren, where, you know, when you're not quite sure what to do, you really do have to take small steps and be scientific about things. You know, again, I'll keep referencing F1 because obviously there's a lot of discussion about F1 at the moment. I don't believe there's such a thing as a silver bullet, you know, one thing that fixes everything, a magical thing you've forgotten, or, you know, a bolt you've forgotten to tighten or something like that. It's probably something that they're working on really carefully in the background to figure out and try to understand what's going wrong. And I think first you need to understand, you know, why maybe you're not as quick, and then you can apply some, you know, scientific kind of rigorous solutions. Of course, it's very difficult in Formula E because you don't have any testing really, and you're in there in one day and you don't get much time to react. So, you know, if one of the races comes up where they get to run on a Friday and maybe get to look at some data over the weekend, or over the Friday night, you know, maybe they'll be able to adjust things. And, you know, Jake's super talented, and so is obviously all the Andretti crew. So I'm sure they'll get on top of it, and they'll be looking strong at the next race.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's because it's just amazing that they're scratching their heads, and I know it must be so frustrating because obviously for them being so competitive last season, and, you know, there's still a championship up for grabs, but he might be lucky considering that we might have a couple of peloton style races. But I believe, Pico, we have another caller ready.
Yes, Saz is with us.
Saz, welcome to the FE Bar. What is your question for Mark?
Hi, Mark. My question is, what's the plan? Like, in the future, will Lola become a full works team? Will you go back into work? What's the plan, mate?
So lots of interesting plans coming up. We are obviously partnering with Apt in Formula E. Just out of interest, historically, Lola has never run teams. They've always been a constructor. Also, never made road cars. Actually, that's that other question that we get asked. So Till, who owns Lola, he's keen to stay with, you know, what historic Lola did, and so we will hopefully, therefore, you know, we'll be partnered with Apt and closely partner with them. And then to answer your other question about WEC, that is, you know, part of the second pillar. We are first pillar of Lola is electrification, and second is Le Mans. And as you know, prototypes, you know, Lola's run in LMP2s and at the top level many times over the years. And so yeah, the aim is to get back into WEC and to go to Le Mans and also IMSA. I was over in IMSA, Daytona 500. That was a great race over there.
Yeah.
All the LMHs, LMDHs and stuff like that. We know we're keen to try and get back in there. And so, yeah, that is stage 2 out of interest. The electrical powertrain in Formula E does suit a lot of the hybrid nature of things like WEC. So if you look at an LMH, you always get it wrong, LMDH and LMH, but an LMH car has got a fairly electrified powertrain, as will have Formula One, in the 2026 rules. So we see that the top level of motor racing is getting more electrified, and so starting in Formula E at a world championship level with an electrified powertrain is a really good base to then relaunch Lola into the highest level of motorsport. So the answer is yes, and we'll see how it goes over the next months and years. But we've got a fair bit on our plate, obviously, in this next 6 months to get ready for the first race in Formula E.
Looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Saz, do you have anything else that you would like to, while you're here, or I'll give you another opportunity to fire another question away if you would like to. If you don't have one, it's fine. But if you have another one, you'll feel free.
Who do you think's gonna win this year?
That's a hard one, isn't it? We're just talking about Jake Dennis, and obviously, yeah, gosh, it's gone backs and forwards a bit, hasn't it? The Porsches certainly look strong, and the Jaguars, of course. Nick Cassidy's looking pretty special, although he's had a bit of trouble as well, just like normal in Formula E. I don't think over the last 8-9 years we've been able to predict the future very well.
Yeah.
So I'd say Nick Cassidy, Verlaine's looking good. Our old driver Antonio Felix da Costa, he keeps trying to win things or does win things, and then obviously something goes wrong. So
if he didn't have bad luck, he wouldn't have any luck at all.
Yeah, but we're coming up to Berlin, and that's where we won the championship previously. So in Berlin there'll be some different strengths, I think, in teams, because the surface in Berlin is completely different to everywhere else. It's obviously an airfield, and then Shanghai, that'll be completely different. A place that nobody's been. Portland, I suppose a few people are being experienced there, and then in London, where obviously Jake has won in the past. So. And Nick, I suppose.
Yep.
So I think it's probably going to be around, the Nick, Jake, Push, Jag, Andretti in there, and some surprises, hopefully, from other people, which will make it all exciting.
Indeed. Might as well touch there on Antonio Felix da Costa. Saz, though, thank you so much for popping in. Some really great questions, and thank you so much for asking your question to Mark.
Thanks, guys.
So, Antonio Felix da Costa there, as you brought up, because obviously you must have seen the news stories about da Costa potentially losing his seat to potentially Nico Müller, and Nico Müller doing this test. And now, I don't know how regular that kind of is, and maybe you can talk us a little bit through that kind of process, if that's something that is quite common, because, people have said that was quite a common thing that can happen in Formula E, whether that's true or not. Maybe you can shed a bit more light on that. But in terms of da Costa and what he's like as a driver, and obviously you know him quite personally, like, he's had a bit of adversity, and obviously in Misano he came back so strong and was so unlucky that it didn't go his way. So were you surprised to see Antonio sort of like potentially losing his seat at Porsche because he's worked so hard to get it? And is that Nico Müller, Antonio Felix da Costa thing, is that common practice? Is that things that you do see?
I wouldn't be able to confirm or what's happening in the background, so I won't comment on on that side of things. But Antonio, he's a fighter, and I'll just say in the last race in Misano, he's a wily racer, and obviously found his way to the front. He had a pretty good weekend in Monaco, I would say. They did a good job there. Sometimes things go your way, sometimes they don't go your way. So the next race coming up, which is Berlin, is where at one point we dominated. So it's not like he doesn't know how to deal with the surface in Berlin. So I think it'll be okay. There's always ups and downs, as you were saying. Jake Dennis, he won the championship last year, and he's struggling a little bit, but then come to a different track, and the whole thing changes. And that's what's great about Formula E. There's a lot of chopping and changing of positions, etc. And the sign of a champion, I think, is to come back from adversity. And that was obviously great in Misano. I saw the comment. He said that even though they were disqualified, it really wasn't for anything performance based. So he proved to himself that he could win, and that shows when you give yourself confidence. And going into a track that he's strong, I'm sure he'll be fine. So, it'll be interesting to watch the next set of races.
I just wanted to ask a question very quickly, because we were just talking about the championship fight and how, like, obviously the last couple of seasons it has been Jaguar versus Porsche, throughout their 8 drivers, and few of them here and there. But one that's been a very dark horse this year is Ollie Rowland for Nissan. Now, Nissan they had an odd flash of brilliance for both them and the McLaren team last season, but they've come in this year, and Ollie Rowland's been absolutely fantastic. So how much can a team and a powertrain change from year to year, especially with the 2-year with the 2-year regs, sort of meaning that we do sort of get similar results? How big of that is a difference software wise?
I'm a big fan of Ollie. Have a look at his his previous history in F2 and F3 and things like that. He was pretty special in a lot of those series. So he is he's a quick guy. I think again I'll reference it to F1 because I'm sure some of your fans watch F1. if you look at why is Ferrari grabbing why is Ferrari grabbing Lewis? Because a change and a direction can have an impact. It's a total package. It's a group of people. Ollie coming in there, off being out for a couple of months, super quick in Formula E, something to prove. A new team of people working together at Nissan, and pulling everything together in an amazing way. It really can change a lot, especially in Formula E, because it's very close, and it's the same as I suppose it's true of F1. It's quite close as well when you look at the distribution of the grid. So I think the package, the drive, the leadership that a driver can bring to a team is it's pretty special. So yeah, I think they're on and up, and they're looking pretty good, aren't they? If they didn't have just the miscalculation in Mazzano, there could have been another win for Ollie, and therefore, they could have been leading the championship, I think. So there's all to play for, and he's definitely on a mission, and he's one to definitely look out for.
Yeah, I think we've got Natalie in the waiting room.
Yes,
So I think
Natalie is with us now.
Okay, Natalie's with us now. Okay, perfect. So Natalie, welcome to the FE bar again. And what is your question
Evening,
for Mark?
gents. Firstly, how are we?
Good.
We're all good, thank you very much.
And then, obviously, Mark, with your Formula E experience as team principal for Techeetah in its various guises, how are you planning to use that experience to not mentor as such, but how are you planning to use that experience in your new role at Lola?
Yeah, I mean, I probably one of the biggest things I always talk about is that you got to know how to win. Experience over the years in F1 and other places, being from the back of the grid to the front of the grid, it's quite surprising that when you're in a team like I was at Arrows in F1, you've got to know, how you win, and it seems a bit weird saying it like that, but what it means is that when you're not being successful, you can't believe that everybody else is cheating, for example, because you often find that when you're in teams that are at the back of the grid, everyone thinks Ferrari's cheating or McLaren's cheating or something like that, but usually it's just that they're doing a lot better job. And so by having experienced winning in Formula One and in Formula E, it allows you to focus more and not waste time on things that take people down the garden path. Headless chicken moments, I always call them. People running around with their heads chopped off, saying, "Oh my gosh, it's terrible. We must have done something wrong." When actually, maybe it wasn't. What people think. So I think sort of a calmness and experience of winning is really important, and I can bring that to bear. Obviously, Thomas Burmeyer and the guys at Abt have won as well, and we were actually comparing notes and trying to figure out perhaps how many races or podiums we'd had between Abt and Techeetah over the years. They were very successful and beat us a number of years, especially when they beat us by 2 points to take the team's championship, which is very annoying. But we're working together, and so it's been a bit of fun chatting about the past, and they certainly also know how to win. So I think the main thing will be, obviously, we're a new powertrain manufacturer working with an experienced team. There'll be a few hiccups in the beginning, but as long as we can all focus and not panic and just work towards the future, I think we'll be golden, as they say.
I just want to follow up on that because obviously you were team principal at Techeetah, and then you're now director of motorsports at Lola. How different is your role now to the role that you were holding at Techeetah and at Aguri beforehand to your new role at Lola?
Yeah, it's one that I'm sort of onto the other side of the fence. I'm doing what when I was with DS, that was a role taken by Thomas Chevachet and Xavier Mestelon-Pignon, who are both at the FIA now. Yeah. So I'm kind of stepping into their roles that I worked with them for a number of years. So so I'm sort of going to their side of the table, which is good. Obviously in F1 I was technical director and worked in a role kind of similar. Formula E, slightly different to other series in that in F1 the constructor and the team are the same thing. in Formula E. Obviously, we're working with the powertrain with Yamaha and working with Abt. So I've sort of seen that role from the other side, so it's an interesting time. But again, I've kind of done that role in a different way when I was in F1, and we've got some great experienced people at Lola who've worked in all sorts of sides of motorsports, as from the Formula One engine side, electronic control systems. We've got some great people, and so we don't have a lack of, let's say, knowledge within the team. So I think we work well together, and it's always interesting doing something slightly different.
Perfect. Natalie, do you have another question quickly? We can squeeze another quick one in.
So yeah, just to follow up on the Yamaha partnership, obviously, with Lola and Yamaha together, how has that been for you? Because I know Techeetah have just been DS.
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to work with Honda for many years in F1, and got to know my Japanese colleagues at Honda, and so it's been really good. I love working in Japan. It's a great place. If you ever get a chance to go there, it's certainly worth the experience. And working with the Japanese engineers is really amazing. So we've been enjoying ourselves. We've been working away for probably sort of 18 months, 2 years in the background, getting to know each other over the last 2 years and working closely together. So yeah, I really like working with car companies because they have a dearth of experience in different ways. They've got so much resource in different ways, all sorts of experts that have had experience of doing all sorts of powertrains and things over the years, and that's why I love working with car companies or bike companies in this case. Although Yamaha does all sorts of things, ATV,
piano companies.
Yeah, well, if you get to go to their museum in Iwata, near Hamamatsu in Japan, you'll see all sorts of things. Everything from drones to ATVs to bikes to, they do powertrains for everything. And so this is why Formula E is so interesting to them, because they really are a powertrain company, and it's great if you get lucky enough to go there and visit their headquarters.
Perfect. Natalie, thank you so much for coming on.
Pleasure's mine as always, gents.
Means the world. I kind of want to just follow up there, Mark, in terms of obviously the app partnership. Like, I don't want to have any disrespect to Mahindra, because obviously they were with Mahindra before, but when did those conversations begin with app? Like, when did that process sort of start? How did it come about when you were thinking of entering, and why did you target Abt? Was Abt like the first team that came to you? Did you target them? Did they come to you? How did it work?
So I think you guys know Keith Smount, who's a commercial director of Lola. He's a very good salesman. He knows you got to keep all doors open. I think that's basically the learning experience, and perhaps that's something some of your listeners will be interested in. Is that you shouldn't give up on stuff. It takes a long time to get some things to happen, and Keith is very good at talking to people and keeping people up to date about what we're doing and knowing what they are doing. And you find in business that things change, things chop and change, other things change in the world. There's other pressures on other companies that are working with people like Abt and others. So it wasn't necessarily straightforward. We didn't know that that's how we'd end up, but we've known each other all for a long time because we're all in Formula E from the beginning. And we keep all doors open and keep talking and keep dialogue with everybody. And Keith's great at that. And so he kept the whole thing open. And it was only over the last weeks or month or so that we realized that this was the deal that was going to work best for both of us. And everything happened pretty fast, actually.
Impressive. I think we've got Jody in the chat.
Yeah, just come in. Just
Just waiting at the moment. Okay, cool. Let me know if she pops in. She pops in. Jody, welcome to the FE bar. How are you?
Unmute.
You have to unmute yourself. That's always a good start. There we go.
I'm good. How are you all?
We are very well. What is your question for Mark?
So my question is, because I've only kind of started watching Formula E in the past few years, but Mark, you've obviously been involved for like a long time. So I just wanted to know, like, back then, did you ever expect the sport to kind of get as big as it has now?
Um, I don't know if the word is expect, probably wish or dream, that it would, of course, because it was a, quite a bit of a startup. And again, I'll go back to the answer I gave previously, which is when you're involved in startups, which this was, a lot of people thought we were crazy, and it's hard to describe that, and you don't remember what people really thought. Anything that's new, people don't want to believe is going to happen, and so at the beginning, I suppose we hoped and wished and pushed for a different future. What we found over the years was that, certain things changed in the world that kept everything moving our way, which is interesting. They say also, rising tide floats all boats. So that's an old saying. And, as F1 grows, then we grow as Formula E, because fans like yourself and others, friends of yours, etc., maybe they watch F1 and they, ask yourselves, what else should I watch? And you can say, well, try out Formula E. It looks really good in Monaco, for example. And they come and look. And I think it's very difficult to grow something, and that's probably the thing that we've learned the most. And I think most people who do startups know. F1's been around 70 years or something, and so it's not an overnight success. It's been building for many years, and so it's been pretty impressive how fast Formula E has grown. I will say that the world's changed. Since we began in 2014. You'd have to say that social media has grown up a lot, the way people view and listen. And I wouldn't have expected to be doing, interviews on Zoom, 10 years ago at all. So
I don't think we were expecting that in 2019, if we're completely honest.
Exactly.
1 year later.
Yeah. So, things change all the time. And so hopefully Formula E and F1 and all the other motorsport series are, making use and jumping on all the new ways of communicating to fans like yourselves. So a roundabout way of saying probably not, just wanted it to be that big and rode a lot of waves, I suppose, over the years. And I think we'll keep going forward.
Yeah, that's really cool. Thank you.
Perfect. Joe, did you have anything else before, or was that just the one you had?
That was the one I had. I'm not very prepared today.
That's fine. That's fine. Jodie, thank you so much for coming on the FE bar, though. It means the actual world.
No, thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. There was actually a really good question. There's a really good question in chat, actually. That
I was going to bring this up.
From Vitaly. He says, "Hi, Mark. He says, spill the beans on attack charge. And what do we know that we don't? So I know that's kind of a very. So I'll reword that question for Vitaly slightly. But obviously we haven't seen attack charge yet in Formula, and that was the whole big thing with Gen 3. Obviously you're probably working on the assumption that attack charge will probably be introduced alongside your powertrain in season 11. So what are the challenges with attack charge, do you think? Does that affect the powertrain in any way in terms of, it doesn't with the battery and so forth, I suppose, but are you looking forward to attack charge, and how do you, I suppose, see those races change?
Yeah, we don't have a lot of experience in it yet. As you say, we're just getting our batteries. We received our test car a couple of weeks ago. We're aware of the testing everybody else has done. We get the reports, and we, listen in meetings and things as to the other teams that have been working on it. So I'm not going to be able to answer questions very well because we haven't been deeply involved in that testing. I can only surmise, when you think about how much charge there is. I was in my Tesla the other day, and you talk about having 275 kilowatts capability and those kind of things. And even at a Tesla charger, which you're the only car in the bank, you pretty much, I've only ever seen about 170 kilowatts that I've seen anyway. Maybe it goes higher. It just shows you, when you look at the size of the transformers and everything next to the charging station that are needed to generate and to deliver that much power. Getting into the 600 kilowatt range is double, what Tesla even says is possible, or at least what, they designed their cars for. I think the latest Porsches and others can do theoretically 375, I think.
Yeah.
So it's, not quite double, but, it's a lot more. And so as an engineering, let's say, feat, it is pretty incredible when you think about, we also have a little old Zoe in one of my companies, and does 80 miles and charges at 7 kilowatts or something, even if struggles to do that, and it's 8 to 10 years old. So what's amazing is when you're working with new technology is difficult. It's kind of like the definition. And so when people say, oh my gosh, those teams I'll say in F1 or in Formula E or WEC are having so much trouble, it's because we really are pushing the boundaries. There's a way of thinking of technology, which is what NASA uses to say, when you start at zero, that is called blue sky research. So that's splitting the atom. And number 9 is, you're taking a commercial airliner into the skies. And in between motorsports, I see us, we're technology demonstrators. We are demonstrating high-end technology. It's still a bit risky. It's not ready perhaps for the mainstream, but in motorsports, we can take more risk. And so if you think of it like that, then everything we do in motor racing is pushing the boundary. Once it's working in Formula E or any other form of racing, then it'll maybe get commercialized and go towards something that somebody can safely use every day with no worries, with no, in Formula E, we have, 10 mechanics looking after the cars. And so it's not like, you and your Porsche or Tesla or Audi or something where you're driving down the road and you just want to plug in and not worry about it and go and get a burger or a coffee. So motor racing is, I often say, a prototyping competition. We're in a competition to prototype ideas and concepts quicker than anywhere else, and hopefully those ideas come across into everyday road cars and everything that we see. So I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying we really are pushing the boundaries, and that is, it's not a joke. We're pushing the boundaries pretty hard. To answer your second part of your question, how will it turn out in racing? I haven't quite sort of played it out, completely with the strategy guys yet in my head as to how it's going to, finish up. We didn't expect to have the kind of peloton racing, a year ago or so. But that's what motor racing brings when you're experimenting with the future. That's why, you have sprint races in F1, and you can tell I'm doing lots of references to F1, but I've, been watching it recently, and both series are doing new things, pushing the boundary like they should be. And as both world championships, then it's important that we're trying new things and demonstrating those things to the public and the fans.
I wanted to ask about pushing so sticking on like pushing the boundaries and everything. I wanted to ask about autonomous vehicles as well, because there was lots of stick that came out over the weekend over the race that happened in Abu Dhabi. What did you make of that?
I mean, it's really hard. That I'm involved in autonomous vehicles. It's really hard. You can tell I like doing really hard things, and I'll tell you it's really hard. So I do know some of the people at TUM University that obviously won in the end. I got involved in Robo Race very early on, and I know how hard that was. It's phenomenally difficult what they're trying to do, and especially only with 20 or 30 students / PhD doctoral students. I'm not even putting them down by saying that. They're the smartest kids on earth. So it's, and I think I understood on the broadcast that they'd only been given access to the cars like with 1 month. Is that right? That is, we've been working with Yamaha for 18 months, 2 years in order to deliver 2 cars nearer the end of this year onto the racetrack. So, it's not really fair that a bunch of students who haven't done motor racing, let alone have only seen the cars 1 month before, to do something that no one's ever done is, 3 big layers of unknowns. It's not just one layer of unknown. It was obviously different, but I can imagine that in a year they'll be zooming around that course, and the cars probably will look pretty impressive. But it was a very big challenge, let's say.
Yeah, what I wanted to just say, because obviously we saw Natalie's question in chat. So if you don't want to come on, or if you can't come on, but if you are watching, because we've got quite a few of you watching, and you want to put a question in chat, we will ask Mark the question that you put in chat. We'll treat it like a text message on a radio station. But Mark, I suppose one thing, while we hopefully get a couple of people questions on in chat, what are the aims? Like, what going into season 11 with the powertrain with Apt? Like, what is the aims? Like, obviously they've been struggling with the Mahindra powertrain. We've seen Nico Muller do like super well lately, and when they can get it right on certain tracks, they do look strong. But are you going in with any aims? Is the aim to be scoring points regularly, or is it just basically just to get a good start going into season 11 and season 12?
I mean, we obviously want to target, being as high as we can. There's all sorts of opportunities in Formula E, as you know. Things chop and change all the time, so we do need to be opportunistic if those things pop up, and present themselves as possible. So yeah, I think scoring points will be really good. I want to do what we did in season 3 with Cheetah, where we kept improving every race. There was a few races that didn't quite work out, but by the end, we won the final race. And I'm not saying we're going to win the final race, but I'd like to see a positive gradient. Is one of my old engineers used to say to me, continuous improvement. And even if we do slip back a bit, band back together again, work hard, go forward. So I think it's some positive points in the first year, with some great results hopefully in there, because there is opportunistic times to get things to happen in Formula E. Be ready. If you're prepared, you can often succeed. So if we're prepared and we hit the ground running, and we've got a great team in Apt, and I think we'll be in the right place to score points if the opportunity arises.
Yeah, Pico, have you got something to build on that?
Well, I've been looking at stuff. And Edison, who was on earlier, has put in, because Yamaha are obviously huge in MotoGP as well, and because electrification is quite big, would Lola look at Moto E, in a joint with Yamaha or something like that, or is that something that's not on your radar?
It's not on the radar, because I did see I did see the Moto E races, and I believe it's one make at the moment, isn't it? Is that correct? I think.
Yeah.
So I don't know where they're up to. So I must say I'm not really sure. Yamaha chose to come into this series because it's World Championship, and they wanted to come and fight against people like Porsche and Jaguar and Nissan, etc., so they could know that they are playing at the highest level. So not saying Moto E won't get there, just I'm not quite clear where they're up to in their journey. So hard to judge whether they're like we were in season 1 of Formula E, or whether they're a number of seasons down the road. I think it does take time for anything to get going. So not on the radar, but we'll keep up. I mean, certainly we'll watch and see what's happening there.
There's a question that the username has actually just comeuppance me. I don't know how to pronounce it, but
Yeah,
obviously the press release, right? It caught a few people out. But the car looked amazing in its yellow and blue livery, right? And and he said, will the car basically be yellow or blue, or yellow and blue, or will? So basically, I think the question is, do you have a sort of a sway in what the livery could look like for next season, and will there be some sort of Lola colours potentially on the car, considering the press release? Because it did look like, when I saw it, I was like, that would be the best looking car on the grid.
I mean, it does come down to what the title sponsor is. So if a title sponsor comes along that has the same colours as us, then we'll obviously blend it in. But if someone comes along and is black and red, we'll switch to black and red. So that's just how it goes in motorsports. In testing, we'll probably run that livery, I would say, because it'll be kind of pre-race season. But again, if a big new sponsor comes along, and by the way, anyone who's listening, please phone up or send an email. Then we can, we'll switch to whatever probably the title sponsor is, or work together with a sponsor that might have more blue or more yellow or something like that than we do. So yeah, most likely in testing it will be that livery, but when we come to the racetrack, it'll probably have changed.
Everyone in chat has just said IKEA. So
yeah, well, hopefully they're listening.
So yeah, if we can try and get IKEA to do that would be pretty amazing. I think Ed would
Right.
really,
Shall
really,
we
really,
get?
really wanted to ask a question, and so I think we should try and get him in because I know we're probably a little bit short on time, and I want to just have a couple of questions to wrap up before we let Mark enjoy the rest of his evening. Is Edward, how are you, my friend?
Can't just call me Ed. That's what you normally call me.
Yeah, I know. But obviously, welcome to the FE Bar, and fire away. What's your question to Mark?
I've been here the whole time, guys. Anyway, no, nice. I don't know how many of the ones I sent you earlier have been asked, Jack. So I don't want to go over.
Just go ask what you've asked, and then we'll work our way through.
Okay. I suppose a good place to start would be not something too obvious. So I was interested to know, Mark. Obviously, you ran an independent team for a very long time in Formula E, and you've rejoined effectively as a manufacturer. And you know probably better than most of us the challenges of running an independent team and how important it is to keep costs down so those entries can be, competitive and viable financially. Should the focus, in your view, be on opening up development and that technology and for the big manufacturers, or should it be more towards, trying to keep the costs down and keep the racing competitive and stuff that adds to the show rather than necessarily adds to the technology? Because I imagine you have a very interesting view on this from both sides of the fences.
As I've got more and more involved in the development of the actual powertrain. I've realized, like any motorsports, you can find all sorts of areas you didn't expect were going to open up in front of you. So when people say there's nothing left to work on, I think that's because they've given up or something, I think. Because I've seen some pretty impressive things that we've been doing over the last year or so, and I'm going to gather that the other teams will have been doing the same. So I don't think you ever stop learning, and it's been fascinating being involved in this side. Software never really stops. You can keep finding all sorts of areas in software to be working on. It probably needs to go hand in hand with the size of the series. So as the series grows, and more sponsorship and more coverage and more TV rights and all those things that F1 has, they're finding a balance with their cost cap. We've got a cost cap as well. So I think you need to keep things within a cost cap that matches the size of the series and what sponsors and others can justify as an investment in the series. So I think you do need to keep it fairly even and follow along with the growth, basically. So it's a little bit of a complicated answer, but it needs to.
It was a complicated question. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, it needs to be. So let's just say F1's got a good balance now, I think, where they've got the right, perhaps the right cost cap, the right viewership, etc. And we obviously need to find the same balance in Formula E. And as we grow, we can open up competition in more areas as the series itself grows.
Perfect. Ed, thank you so much for your question. And we'll let you go back and manage the waiting room.
Thank you for indulging me.
No,
anyway, great to catch up with you, Mark.
Right. Very quickly before we let you go, and I'm sorry, I'm just rattling through just because tight on time. How much of a say do you get on Gen 4 as a manufacturer now? And have those conversations started?
You'll see there's a few manufacturers who have announced that they're joining Gen 4, and there'll be obviously more announcements as time goes on. The idea of being in the technical working group and the sporting working group in all series have these groups is that obviously the FIA, well, not obviously, but they do set out their strategy for the future where they're hoping to set a roadmap that's interesting to all the manufacturers, and so that's their job. And then along the way, all of the manufacturers and the teams as well on the sporting side, etc., feed into that to help guide the direction, and hopefully that also gets some influence as to what manufacturers want to see on the road cars and in the directions that they think that are happening on road cars. So a fair amount of involvement driven by a roadmap. The FI coalesces and aggregates, and then we input into the into elements of it as time goes on.
Yeah, there's a couple of questions before, as I said, before we wrap up. I've got a couple of questions now that haven't been asked that I had as a backup, just in case some of the fans asked them. I want to talk about managing drivers because part of the team principal role is managing drivers, and obviously you had like Jean-Eric Vergne and Andre Lotterer, right? And if you remember the incident in Santiago where they sort of went into the back of each other, I know you got away with that one and still got the 1-2, but like, what was it like, managing? Because obviously Jean-Eric Vergne obviously went on to become double champion with it at Tech Cheetah and so forth, and you had Andre who was on the cusp and unfortunate really that he didn't get a win. What was it like managing those two drivers at that time?
Yeah, I mean it's great having such good drivers with you. It makes your life easier and difficult at the same time. I think the Santiago one, it's funny, I used that as an example in one of my presentations, and for me, that one was really down to communication. They thought they were on two different targets of energy, a bit like Roland in Mazzano, where he thought he had plenty of energy left, but actually didn't. So that was really for me a communication issue as well as obviously a software issue that gave them the error in the first place, which is obviously what happened to us in Santiago as well. The two drivers had opposite viewpoints on what the future was going to be. I think communication is a very big key to all of this, and having a common understanding of what you're trying to achieve. But things do get heated, of course, and that's part of high level of competition. It sounded like listening to the radios and etc. on the weekend. The top four were getting maybe the Jaguars were playing an interesting game of keeping the Penske's and DS Penske's behind, whereas perhaps the guys behind were getting a bit more frustrated. So it would have been a lot about communication. I wasn't listening to Jev's radio, but I'm sure he was questioning quite a bit.
Yeah.
And so also a kind of a trust. So I know that when Antonio joined us at Techeetah, he knew us from the past, but he hadn't yet. The word's not right. Trust. It's kind of he hadn't. I suppose trusted that the engineers would get things right, and he thought perhaps they were wrong about a couple of things, and it turns out they were right. And so we overheated on one of the races and came second instead of won it, and things like that. Although he did win the championship, so that's okay. So it's a lot about trust, communication, and those things. And but at the same time, still people do need to let off steam if something doesn't go right and the communication isn't correct.
Yeah, and then I want to talk actually. I think this would be an interesting story. I don't know how much you can go on it because obviously DS at the beginning were partnered with Virgin Racing for season 2, and then obviously they came over to you. Obviously, I remember. I think it was about season 4. I can't remember actually. I'm trying to remember now. But I remember interviewing the DS time when they were at Virgin. I was like, "Where are you going for next year?" Effectively, because there was all the talk that they were moving to Tech Cheetah. Like, how did that conversation come? How did you go about going to DS and saying, "Look, work with us, be the main title powertrain supplier for us, rather than Virgin Racing"? Like, what was the story behind that?
That one's a lot more complicated than we got time for, I think, today. Obviously, John-Eric was involved, some of our engineers, the new people, the new colleagues we had at Techeetah. There was a huge amount of things going on in the background. So probably too much for this whole podcast, but it's kind of a bit like the question you asked. On it. Yeah, well, it's a bit like you asked the question before. When did you exactly decide to work with Apt? It's never just one thing. It's a kind of a journey. Let's just say it was a journey, and we ended up they ended up with us in the end.
And the peloton style of races, because I know we didn't get onto that. What are your opinions on the peloton style of racing? Because you're a technical guy, and remember when we were back in season 1 and we were like, this is the roadmap, this is to improve. The whole point of Formula E is to improve the production of electric cars. Are we doing that? I would say yes, we are. But the big thing that everyone talked about back then, is why we had the 2 cars, was the range, right? And we're seeing these peloton styles, especially in races in Mazzano, which were 37, 38 minutes, and they weren't quick races because the drivers were going so slow to conserve the energy. And I feel like for Gen 3 that sets the wrong precedent. Like, we want to show that we've made progress. We were doing 45-minute plus 1 lap races, and if we're going to these racetracks because these cars are fast, but we're already doing a 36, 37 lap race, I don't think that shows the technological side of Formula E in a great light in terms of range, because I still think that today, for Formula E, and the greatest myth behind electric cars and people buying electric cars is the range. So what are your thoughts on the peloton style of races, and do you think Gen 3 Evo might stop this peloton style of race, or do you think it'll be more the same going into next season?
So probably 2 questions back to you.
Yeah.
What do your fans think? And especially, what of the new fans versus the old fans think? And then the second element to that is you got to remember that, I'll keep referencing F1. They only have a certain amount of fuel, and they're doing lifting and coasting all the time as well. And so it's just that nobody talks about the fact that, they were having to save X, Y, Z at the end of the straight, etc. I think it was Ricciardo, wasn't it? Or was it Russell, who was told to do lift and coasting in order to keep the engine cool and save fuel. It's not a talking point in those series, although, WEC is the same. So if you look at, I will say that most modern racing series are going to an energy-based series, except for perhaps IndyCar, I think, and maybe NASCAR still. But many of the top level, the World Championship level, are all about energy management. And so to answer your question, we talk about it more in Formula E than we do in F1 and other series. They've got the same things going on. Yeah. The Peloton one is an interesting kind of thing that's happened, but the FIA does have the power to change the amount of energy, targets, and things in the race. So they need to calibrate, what's happening in the various races. And obviously in Misano, the second day they did 2 laps shorter, and it did look different as a race. And I think the teams will start to understand, how to race in this series. So, I remember in F1 when tires change, engine rules change, wait to 2026. That's going to be very different in F1 as well. And then it'll settle down. The rules will change a little bit. People will, they'll figure out how to not manipulate the rules, but adjust the rules so that the racing is what people think. So, go back to my first question. What do you think the fans think of that type of racing?
Well, we got the fans. The commenters are coming through. So we've got someone trying to think where it was now. That said they liked it, and they're an old fan, so they like it. But then we've got Saz thinks that she doesn't like the peloton style of races because the drivers should be fighting for the win, not fighting and not to lose it, basically. And we had a caller on last night who said, there's no point watching the first 25 laps of a peloton style race. You might as well just watch the last 3 because nothing happens in the first 25 laps because they're all jostling for position. So, but the thing is, what I've learned about the peloton style races from just speaking to fans is that it's Marmite, right? You either love it or you hate it. And I think the majority of our audience currently are probably more towards the hate it, but then you'll see people on social media and even people in our community that will say, I like the peloton style races. They are interesting. And I, thinking about Misano, I suppose, if I go back to Saturday's race, yes, it was pretty interesting. You didn't know what was going to happen. But at the same time, I do agree with the point that once they bolted to the end, those laps, it was just basically, I knew Da Costa was going to win about 10 laps prior because he had the most amount of energy. So I was like, Da Costa's going to win this. He's done, and I was like, that is a brilliant job from Da Costa. He's managed his energy. He's stayed at the top of the pack. He's in the top 5. There's no reason why he doesn't win it. And, he should have. So I suppose it allows those powertrain packages that are the most efficient, I suppose, that opportunity which Porsche is, to save that energy in those races and then to bolt when they need to bolt. So even though it's a crazy race, it's still rewarding efficiency, which I suppose is good, I suppose, Mark.
Yeah, I don't know if we know the answer yet. There'll be a few more adjustments I'm sure the FIA will make, and we'll see how it develops. It's an interesting element.
Yeah, and the last thing I kind of wanted to ask you, because Pascal Verlaine said it to me on Saturday, where even he took his attack mode, on lap 3, and it's kind of same. Even though we're being out front, and they're still wasting more energy than in the slipstream behind, and even at a place like Monaco on a typical street track. Will the Gen Point 3.5 Evo powertrain, do you think that will help that? Do you think there'll be maybe some efficiency changes? So, because surely we don't want a series where pole position is negative. Yes, you get the 3 points for it, which is great, but you don't want to be taking your attack mode on lap 3 just so you can potentially, save some energy. But then for Pascal, it didn't work because he's stuck in 5th. So you don't want to be on pole for Lola. You get your first pole position, but you want to get rid of it in a couple of laps to save on energy.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you did see though is you want to stay in the top 5 kind of thing. You don't really want to slip back into the pack too much. So there is still an advantage to being at the front, I think, and being the quicker car. I think over the 2 days, the drivers were figuring out what was the best way of racing one of those races. Attack mode's interesting, and when I thought it was quite good in Generation 2, it is very unpredictable. It's very hard to predict when to take it. I actually don't think there's a theoretical time. It's not like, tire degradation and stuff like that, where you pretty much know when you need to change tires. Attack mode is much more difficult to predict, which means that there's more jeopardy in the race, which I think is important as well. With the future, obviously the attack mode probably will have some sort of element of the front powertrain, so you'll be quicker again in attack mode. So hopefully the balance changes back there again a little bit as well. And the FI can, move some of those parameters a bit to make the racing interesting. So it's within their power to make adjustments to how the sporting element of the racing works.
And then lastly from me, I suppose it has to be the calendar, right? Because obviously there is this change to more of a... And the car's getting faster, right? So when we were back in London, for example, and Paris and Rome at the beginning, and we were going to all these amazing cities, and what was brilliant for Formula E, and obviously we just had Tokyo, which was just incredible. But when we spoke to Jeff Dodds a couple of weeks ago, I was like, well, we've put all this hard work to go to London. We put all this hard work to go to Rome. We wanted to New York, all these cities. But we're losing these cities because the cars naturally are getting faster. And we're going to these tracks. And in terms of Formula E's DNA, when Alejandro Agag right at the beginning said, we are supposed to be bringing the racing to the people rather than the people traveling miles to get to a racetrack, because we could be heading to Silverstone for the English event, and it's just a shame that all the hard work Formula E has put in to go to cities could be lost. So in terms of the question then for the calendar is like, do you want to try and see Formula E work a bit harder, maybe to try and stick to the street races and maybe try and find places that can adjust? I know that's incredibly difficult. Or is the transition now to circuits for the series what we're going to expect?
I mean, I'd like to have 12 Monacos. That's quite good. So Monaco, Mexico City looks great. I think it looks great on TV. So it's another great one. I think we have to figure out which tracks do suit these cars, and also suit the upgrades that are going to come in Generation 4 as well. I like Long Beach, those type of tracks. I was in the Gold Coast a couple of months ago and back in Australia. Something like
Surface Paradise.
That'd look good, I think. So there are tracks out there that would work well, that are a combination of traditional tracks and street circuits. I think we will figure out how to go to permanent circuits and make it look good. You got to remember that permanent circuits are designed for internal combustion engines with a whole different way of racing. Internal combustion engines typically don't do regeneration. And, whenever I drive a petrol car now, I think, oh, it's not regenerating. I'm really annoyed. It's not saving energy. So, when the style of racing that comes from these new efficient powertrains is changing perhaps even the circuits that traditional cars race on. So, watch this space. I kind of think that that traditional circuits may even also morph. I don't know how they'll morph, but they might morph in different ways as well. And I'd be interested to see if that comes about.
Perfect. Mark, it's been an absolute privilege to have you on and answering the fan questions as well, because that's the whole point of this show. The whole point is to try and bring the fans a bit closer to the people in our series. And it's been an absolute honour to have you on tonight.
No worries. Thank you. Have a good evening, guys.
Perfect. So what we're going to do now is we are just going to run to a quick break, and on the other side you'll see me and Pico, and we will begin to wrap up the show. So we will see you very soon. And hello, we are back for the sort of end. We're not going to be on for a massive amount of time because obviously we were here yesterday. So the plan is we'll have a little. We hope you all enjoyed that. But what we're going to do is we did a quiz after Jeff Dodds. We're going to do like another type quiz, but it won't be as mental. We'll pull someone in. So if you want to take part in the quiz, literally join the waiting room. So if you're in the waiting room, right?
Discord waiting room
The Discord waiting room, because we're back on Discord.
Zoom's dead.
Right, the Zoom is gone. So we're back on Discord. So if you want to come and take part in our quiz, Edward will come on to the show. He will ask the questions, and then we'll get one of you guys on, if you're in the waiting room, to answer the questions. Yeah, a quiz. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, a quiz. So we'll have a question. If you want to try and answer a general trivia, or actually, maybe we could do some general knowledge. You know what I might do? I might do some general knowledge questions. Right? I've got a great one. Right? I've got an absolute great one. And maybe we could... What is the oldest age for a hamster? I know the answer to this. Right? The oldest age ever for a hamster.
89.
How long? 89 years! For a hamster!
I don't fucking know.
You can't swear! Why? What is wrong with you?
That's the first time I've done that.
What is wrong with you?
Oh, I'm really sorry. I apologize. I apologize profusely.
Like, I don't have a dump button, right? If I had a dump button, I could have dumped it, but I don't have a dump button. You're terrible.
I believe I've done that.
Terrible.
Oh,
The lack of professionalism.
That one, didn't it? It had to be that one.
Terrible.
It had to be that one.
Terrible.
If it was one of the lesser ones, it would have been fine. But
I'm gonna edit that out. I have to edit that out of the live stream now. You've been officially dumped, but if you caught it live, but I will have to edit that out. Terrible. So we're gonna play a quiz, right? And the first question that you'll come, and I know the answer to this, and I'll see if someone gets it, right? Is if you want to come on and have a guess. Or maybe you could put it in chat, but it would be brilliant if you came on into the waiting room, and if you wanted to have a go at the hamster age, that would be an awesome question. That's a bit of a general trivia question. Edward is going to come on to show fairly shortly. Obviously, no Nick at 9 tonight, because Nick's still recovering. So we still wish him all the best, but hopefully I don't know about Berlin either, because he is in Berlin for the rookie test on Monday, whereas I will be flying home Sunday night. So I need to talk to him about Berlin as well. He might still be in Berlin, so he might still be able to do it, but from his hotel room in Berlin. But yeah, I will take Jack's place. You know what, Edison, you can have it. Omi, I know basically nothing other than F2, so won't join. What do you mean nothing? Then F what? That's all you know about. All you know about is F2. You don't know any general knowledge maths questions. You know, I start. What was it? We start asking the trigonometry style questions. But firstly, though, I suppose while we wait, Pico, get your head back in the game.
Yeah,
right.
I know.
Yeah, Mark's gone. Right.
At least it was when Mark went. At least it was after Mark went. I just went into like screen off moment.
Keep the professionalism, right?
Yeah, the professional.
It was pretty cool having Mark, and again,
you've known me for a decade now. When was I ever professional? I dropped the F-bomb, Chris.
Yeah, there we go. Terrible. But obviously, we have to say a massive thank you to all of you, because, you know, again, you guys coming on and speaking to Mark and asking questions, that's the whole point of the show, right? And we just spoke to Buffett. He was really complimentary, was really liked the show, was really thankful for your questions. So, again, it props to you, and it means the world for me and Pico as well, you guys coming on and asking the questions. It means the world. Go on.
To be fair, I have just thought, because this is the Mark Preston show, you could just crop it at the ad break. None of this matters.
Yeah, well, we could do. We could crop it there. There's just everyone in chat knows.
Yeah.
Everyone in chat knows what you did, and I couldn't dump you because we don't have that technology yet at Formula E Zone to be able to dump someone. But then we'd have to have a stream delay. Now there is already a stream delay, but then there'd have to be an extra stream delay to.
You have to go on the break for a few minutes.
Don't even know what.
I get wheeled out off a cliff, and someone else comes in my place.
Anyway. Moving on, as I said, it was really interesting having Mark, and I suppose the venture with Lola would be interesting. And it was also interesting thinking about, he's right, to be fair. Like, we were talking about them being a team, effectively. And Formula E is still open to having a team. There's still like a 30 million, and it's something that I would like to try if I get a chance to speak to Jeff properly on over Berlin rather than I did, because when I spoke to him he was very quickly about to meet Anthony Joshua, so there wasn't much time to sort of like pick his brain, I suppose. But really interesting though that he said that Lola just a powertrain supplier, right? We're not a team, we're a powertrain supplier. They've always been a powertrain supplier and we won't be a team.
Maybe it's good that he only had to explain that once for you.
Yeah, good that he had to explain that once.
That's actually quite good for you.
But what I thought was interesting is that Livery is going to be in testing, and now I don't know if I'll be at testing.
Okay, Jack, you definitely have to crop this later because Renee's just pointed out that I'm in my work uniform.
Yeah, terrible.
So you can't have me swearing on this within my work uniform.
I'm gonna crop it, don't worry.
Good.
But let's not mention it anymore because I could have just cropped the swear word and then we would have been fine.
However, like, just for disclaimer, because like someone did say that I'm reporting you to the Silverstone Museum, and I know that's a joke and that's hilarious, but the thing is, I have been told that I need to swear less on plan day when I sign in and sign out. So honestly, they'll just think, yeah, no, that's Jack being Jack. So
maybe we should send Mark the Lola song. I love that. Mention what exactly? Mention what? This is hilarious. Right, we wanted to do a quiz, right? So that's what we wanted to do, but it was really interesting. So the waiting room is packed. We got Chris, we got Edison, we got Natalie, I don't even know who to go to first. Saz and Nikki are deafened, unfortunately, but I don't know. Should we try and bring Ed in? Let's bring Ed in, and then we'll work out. Technically, our waiting room person's gone, but we'll. So if you're in the waiting room and you're listening to this, you may get picked upon, right? But it won't be as hectic as it was last time.
Who are we getting? Sorry.
Ed is in. I've brought him in. Hello, Ed.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Been brought on.
So you've been brought in.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I should really relegate Tico
you're
to
being
the waiting
wheeled out
room
to replace me at this point.
Because you know.
You want me to turn the camera on? Or?
No.
No, you're right. People don't have to see that.
No, it's not. It's fine. It's just, you know, it will muck up me and it will muck up.
No.
Right. It's too much effort. Okay.
It wouldn't if I turn mine off and then Ed turns his on very quickly.
Oh, well, maybe.
Okay, well, it's too risky.
We're not going to do that. So, we were working on some questions, right? I've got one. I don't know if you heard. I've got a general knowledge question. For anyone,
Right.
What is the oldest age of a hamster? Which I do know the answer to.
Oldest age of a hamster?
The oldest age of a hamster. What's your guess?
Okay, what on earth does this have to do with Formula E?
Nothing. It's just a
Why have
general
you invited me
knowledge.
on?
It's because you were supposed to be getting Formula E questions ready for us, so we were hoping to get a Formula E question, and then we could pick someone. So maybe you could tell people what the question was. But I've also got a general knowledge question that we could also ask the viewers and find out who can get the closest to the official age of the oldest hamster in the world.
I care so little about any of this. Right, let's get this over with.
Right. So what question have you got?
I got two that I've hurriedly put together. I got
Lovely.
most fastest lap. Which driver has the most fastest laps in Formula E? And I've listed down the top 7 that I could find.
Top 7. We only need the top 1.
Oh, okay. All right, fine. And also, which driver's got had the most fan boosts in the first
that's a
8
good
seasons
one.
as well?
That's a good one.
Okay.
So the most fan boosts and
I've
the most.
already got my
fastest
ideas.
laps.
That's your choices, because those are the only 2 I've had time
Right then. So
together.
we've got Chris, we've got Edison, we've got Natalie, we've got Nikki. It's her birthday, Nikki, so we might wish Nikki a nice happy birthday.
Yeah.
When she comes on, I'm hoping that she wants to come on, so please, I don't know if that is something. And then we've also got Saz and Nikki. So Ed, as you're the waiting room man, who should we bring in first to answer these questions?
I could go down and ask, but I
Okay,
think Chris Winner wasn't on, but that would be my pick. But I'll go ask very quickly if you want.
No, we can,
Yep.
we can bring Chris on.
Right,
yeah.
back.
That's fine. Van Boost, yeah, surely, to be honest with you. Cassidy already, Connor
Yes.
says. Right.
Yeah,
but
no,
we don't know. Let's not spoil answers.
No,
It's just
no,
a suggestion.
I
We
was-
don't know what the
I
final
was
answer is.
gonna-
We don't know.
I
what
was
we...
going to say that
But
as
Van
well.
Dorn does make sense. So
I was going to say that.
So, and then obviously the oldest age for a hamster, and we'll reveal that at the end of the show, and see how close people get. And hope people don't Google it.
Chris said yes.
Who was this?
Chris Winner.
Right,
The waiting room.
I'll grab Chris in.
I've done it.
You've done it.
Done
Perfect.
it.
Hello, Chris. Welcome back to the FE Bar. Welcome to the.
How did you enjoy the Mark Preston chat?
Oh, yeah, I really enjoyed it, to be fair. I mean, unfortunately, I had nothing to ask him, but no, it's quite nice actually listening. Yeah, to a bit more of on the technical team side rather than kind of the management or shouting into a microphone side.
Yep, 100%.
No offense, Thomas.
Yeah. Right, so question 1 then. We'll go with fastest laps, right? So fastest laps.
Right.
Who is we don't okay, Ed, don't reveal the answer. Let's see who got it right and we'll reveal it at the end of the show. Right? So
Okay.
who got it right. So let's not
I can tell you whatever name you say, how many fastest laps they do have.
Okay, that's fine. So that's
Okay.
fine, but they're not the over we'll reveal and then we'll see who got it right at the end. Right? So then everyone gets a chance to answer these two
I understand.
questions.
Cards close to my chest.
Perfect. Excellent. Chris,
Ed
Who
message
has-
me. No.
who has the most fastest laps in Formula E?
I'm going to take a wild stab,
I'm going to write
probably
this down.
wrong, and say Sam Bird.
Sam Bird.
Been in since season 1. He's been. Probably should have gone Wemmy, but I'm going to go Bird.
Okay, so
I can tell you Sam Bird has 10 fastest laps.
10 fastest laps.
That's-
Do you
that's
think
not-
that's enough?
Actually, saying that, it's 10% of all races. 'Cause he hasn't got any this year, has he?
I don't believe so.
That's 10% of all races up to the end of the season. So it's like, I'm not confident, but I think he's up there. I
Right.
think he made the top 5.
Who's got the most fastest the most fan boosts?
Ooh.
I've got to write this down, so I've got fan boosts on this
Remember,
side.
they stopped doing fan boosts at the start of
Season
season 9.
8.
So this is seasons 1 to 8.
Seasons
Yeah.
1 to 8.
A little bit sticky on that. Again, I think this is a guy that's had a lot, but I don't think he's been in long enough. Probably Van Dorn.
Right, we'll go with Van Dorn. So you said Van Dorn, right? For the for
I will say
fan
that-
boost,
That's my pick as
I
well.
think right, and then the last
He's been early enough, though.
the last
Yeah.
one. What is the oldest age of the hamster has ever lived?
That is a different one. What they normally live 4 or 5.
Okay, I'm not
Think-
giving anything away.
Yeah, I know. It's either 2 or 4 or 5. So probably, let's go 17.
70. They normally live 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Let's go 17. Let's go 17.
I like the confidence, though. He delivered that.
They normally live 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Let's go 17. I love it.
No, Jack, that makes perfect sense because usually these numbers are ridiculous.
Oh, that's
Like,
hilarious.
like,
I love it.
it's
I was
Right.
like, oh, he's going quite through. He's going.
Right.
He's thinking
There is
methodically.
one. Right. Okay. I have an interesting general knowledge question as well
Well,
that I'd like to throw
Okay,
into the
fine.
way.
Now I have to write this down. Go for it.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
already
so,
disorganized as hell, Jack.
No, it's not that disorganized.
What is the record for most teeth found in a human body?
The most teeth in a human
Most
body.
teeth found in a human body.
Does that include baby teeth?
See,
I think the kid was like 7 or something like that, or
so
11,
yes,
somewhere around
No.
there. So probably, I don't know.
we'll say yes then.
Yeah.
We'll say
Yeah.
yes.
How many teeth does a human body have? That's-
Count them, count them, count them, count them.
I'm missing
A,
some.
go
That's
to the
no
dentist.
good for me.
A, B, C. Like
He was 7 years old.
Okay, so that will include baby teeth. So let's go. I'm a child, so 69, because I think it's like
69. Okay, perfect.
It's like 30
Get
odd
the,
teeth.
get the good number out the way. Get the good
Yes.
number out the way.
I think
Right.
it's 32 teeth, so let's go 69, because that's
69.
about right.
Perfect. I love.
Fine, extra.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Right, there's our 2 general knowledge questions, and the most
So
amount of
2
teeth.
Formula E, 2 general
2
knowledge.
general
That's how we
knowledge.
run.
I like it. I like it.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Right. Who's
Cheers,
next?
Chris.
Do we just pull them up? I think. at
We'll
this
see you
point?
later.
Yeah. See you later.
We'll pull them up.
Right.
If you're in a hurry, we can do that, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Nikki because I haven't heard from Nikki in a couple of times, so I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Nikki, welcome to the FE Bar. We've just dragged you in to ask some general knowledge / Formula E questions. I hope you're okay.
Yeah.
Good. Right. Nice and loud. Who do you think has the most fastest laps in Formula E?
Lucas Di Grassi.
Right, Lucas Di Grassi. Right, perfect. So I'll put Nikki down for Lucas Di Grassi. How many does Di Grassi have?
11.
11. So already Chris is out of this. Right? Right. Your vote for Stoffel Van Dorn. I mean, your vote for Fan Boost, sorry.
Most fan boosts.
Most fan boosts.
Incredible, Jack.
I still don't know if it's the answer. Who do you think, Nikki? We have to push you for time slightly.
I cannot.
We could circle back to it. Should we
Just take
circle?
a punt.
Should we take a punt? Yeah, just give us a name. Any name. The silence is deafening from Nikki.
I can tell you there are 3 that are very, very close at the top of the fan boost
I'm
table.
gonna tell you, right? He doesn't hear us. He doesn't hear us.
That would probably be a small hindrance.
So, all right, we'll come back to Nikki. At least he got the figure pop. I'm drop him into the waiting room, and we'll get Natalie in, right, while he works that out. Natalie, welcome to the FE Bar.
Hello.
Hello. Right, so we're going to run through these 4 questions with you. I hope you haven't Googled. No Googling, no cheats, please. I'm not saying that you are.
No.
I think Edison
coughing,
admitted that he
no
was
coughing.
doing that.
I mean, the only device I'm on right now is my mobile phone. I haven't got my laptop up here to cheat, so.
Fair enough. Right, so drivers fastest laps. Who would you go for? So, we've got Di Grassi at 11 at the moment. Do you think there's someone who's got higher than Di Grassi?
Sebastian Buemi.
Buemi, okay. Maybe we shouldn't say. Well, maybe I don't think we should say now, because we kind of ruled out Chris, so we ruled it out. So I think we'll leave the answers for that one. Then Natalie, your fan boost. Who do you think it is?
I'm going to say Van Dorn.
Right, you're going for Van Dorn too. Right, how old is the oldest hamster in the world?
30.
30. So we've got 17. And now we've got 30 from Natalie. 30. Wow. And then how many teeth, I hope this is right, how many teeth are found in this 7-year-old boy's mouth? Chris said 69.
No, that's less than that. I'm going to go 32.
32. So what he said originally, he's gone for 32. Okay, Natalie, thank you so much for coming on. We'll let you know if you're the winner in due course.
Or one of the winners.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah,
see,
one
right?
of.
One of the winners. We'll see. Right, we'll catch you in a bit.
In a bit, bloke.
We'll get Edison. Oh, Edison told me he was cheating. I'm gonna go for.
Or he told me he was cheating, yeah.
So yeah, so I don't trust him. Therefore, I'm going to Mr. Wharton.
He's a nice guy, don't worry.
I don't trust him for this now, Chris.
Oh, hello.
But you've been picked. You're in the waiting room, and I've picked you. Fastest lap. Who do you think it was?
Let me mute. Yeah, so I don't have double.
Okay.
Yeah,
Don't have double yet. Always good.
Go ahead.
Right. Who do you think is the fastest lap? How many fastest laps have we got? I mean,
I'm gonna go for Sebastian Buemi.
you went for Buemi too, so Natalie went Buemi, and you're going Buemi, so Chris has gone Buemi. Right. Fan boost.
Sebastian Buemi.
Buemi with the fan boosts. Okay, so Chris W.
Not bad shout.
Not bad shout. How long do you have? Go on.
If if the answer for how old the hamster lived is Sebastian Buemi,
Oh, sorry.
something's gone wrong with it.
I'm gonna do that guy who was on that Family Fortunes where he answered turkey for every answer.
Look up how old Buemi is.
Right. How old? Edison says he hasn't cheated in chat. Okay, fine. I'll believe you if you haven't cheated. How old is the oldest hamster ever to have lived in the world?
Sebastian Buemi.
Sebastian.
Buemi's 35 years old, by the way.
No. I'll go. Well, can I have the other answers? Am I allowed that?
You can pick some of them. So they've said
No.
17.
No, what I'm saying is,
they said 17 and 30. So Chris WR, I've put him down as now because you're both Chris W. He said 17.
WH and WR.
And then Natalie said 30.
Thinking tactically, how many people else are there going to come on? 1, 3, is there? Oh, I'll just go with whatever then. I'll go 8. That's way too high for hamsters, though. There's no way hamsters live till 17.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay, I'm not saying anything. And then your answer for how many teeth was in this 7-year-old human?
48.
48. Fine.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. How many should we do
Welcome.
of these? A couple more. We're trying to squeeze some people in. There's a new person.
Let's get Saz.
We'll get Saz in.
All right, see you, Chris.
See you
later.
Saz, welcome in. Can you hear us?
Hello. Yeah,
Hello.
I can hear you.
Thank you for coming on early as well with Mark Preston. What we're going to do now is just take your answers for fastest lap. What driver do you think has the most fastest laps in Formula E?
Sam Bird, maybe.
Oh, okay. We've had Bird already. That's fine.
Do I need to pick someone?
No, we don't have to pick.
No, it doesn't have to be
it doesn't
different
have to
because
be
we haven't
picked.
revealed what the right answer is yet.
You haven't revealed what the right answer is, so we'll come back to that. Fan boosts. Who do you think has the most fan boosts?
Ooh, good question. Question. Maybe Daniel App's got a lot of fan boosts.
Ooh, that's
left field. Left field. I like that.
But I'm
He was
going
in for 6 seasons, and he was a from what I
he
remember,
was a fan favourite.
he was a fan favourite. Yeah.
Right, Saz.
Yeah.
Hamster. How old was the oldest hamster in the world?
I think. Well, my hamsters always lived about 2 years, so I reckon they were well looked after. So I reckon maybe 4 years, 307 days.
Okay, I don't have it to the days. I just have it to the years. But I will take that. And how many teeth are in
a
this
7-year-old child
mouth? Yeah, basically
in India.
the most amount of teeth ever in a human mouth, and it was in a 7-year-old child in India. So we have more information.
Yeah.
122.
122. Wow! Imagine having 122 teeth in your mouth. Incredible.
I don't know, vampire child.
Vampire child. Saz, absolute pleasure having you on. As always, we'll reveal if you got any of these right in the end of the show in a couple of minutes' time.
Okay.
Right,
Bye, guys.
We'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, Saz.
Right, we'll get Edison in to see, and then we've got. I can't actually see the name. It's actually just C ... for me.
Chester.
Chester. So we'll get Chester in as well, and then I might someone. Oh, we've gone overboard. We'll do that. There we go.
It's because Saz hasn't left yet.
So.
How do we get 5 in it?
I don't know. I don't know what's happened there. I may have just broken that because of what I've just done.
We'll try that.
But anyway,
later.
Edison.
Hello.
We'll fix that. Welcome back to the FE Bar. Thank you so much for coming on early. It was a fabulous question. So we're going back to fastest laps. So who do you think has the most fastest laps in Formula E?
I think that's John Eric Verne.
John Eric Verne.
Yeah.
So John Eric Verne. Right, so that's Edison. Fast fan boost.
I think that might be Lucas Di Grassi.
Di Grassi, we haven't had Di Grassi yet. Perfect.
Yeah.
Right, so, and then hamster. How old was the oldest hamster in the world?
42.
42.
Very Douglas Adams of you.
Yeah, Ed is a big fan of that answer.
Right, and then finally, how many teeth was in this 7-year-old boy's child from India? I hope it was a boy. I don't know if that was
42.
42. Right.
Okay.
42.
If in doubt, it's 42.
If in doubt, 42. That's what we're going for. Edison, thank you so much for being on tonight. Really appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you.
We'll let you know if you got it right at the end. So I'm going to go for
how many more people?
One or two more. There's Nikki, but I think we'll get Nikki. I would like to get Nikki in because it's her birthday, so we would wish her happy birthday. She doesn't want to do the quiz. That's fine. But we might get in to wish her a happy birthday. So let's get Chester in, who's he's in a race apparently on Assetto Corsa. I actually can't drag him in. So I now have.
I've been able to.
Hi, Chester. Can you hear us? Hello.
Yes. Hi.
We've got some questions that we would like to get some answers to. Who do you think set the most fastest laps in Formula E?
I don't know. Buemi?
Okay, Buemi. So you're going for Buemi. Who got the most amount of fan boosts?
Jean-Eric Verne.
Verne. So you're going Verne. The oldest hamster ever. Chester.
The what?
The oldest hamster ever. How old was the oldest hamster ever?
These are the left field questions.
9 years.
9 years. And how many teeth was in a 7-year-old boy's child from India? How many teeth was in his mouth?
I don't know. 8.
I swear. 8.
Sorry.
That's the most amount. The most.
I don't know. I couldn't hear you.
Hold on. Do you have less than 8 teeth in your mouth?
No.
Do you want to redo that answer? I'll let you have it again. The most amount of teeth ever.
28.
28. Okay, 28. All right, Chester. Thank you so much. Enjoy your set of course. I can hear you changing gears in the background.
Thank you.
No worries. Thank you so much for coming on as well. First time caller, so I really appreciate you coming on. And hopefully we'll hear from you again in the future.
I just had a conversation with Nikki through text, and she said she's fine to come on for you to wish her a happy birthday.
Perfect.
I told her she didn't have to do the quiz.
Right. Okay. Let's get Nikki in.
Nikki is in.
Happy
birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Nikki. Happy birthday to you.
Hip hooray!
Woo! Nikki?
Thanks,
We were all so in tune.
Yeah, we did a great job on that one.
We're gonna
It sounded like being on the football terrace.
Yeah,
when we go watch football.
100%.
We're gonna try X Factor
We-
this year. We think it's our year.
We sounded like we were 3-0 down in the first half.
Yeah.
So basically, we were Spurs fans. Oh, terrible. Anyway, would you like to take part in our quiz that we're doing?
Oh, go on then. Why
Go
not?
on then.
No matter
Go
what
on
happens,
then.
right?
Right. Who do you think has the most fastest laps in Formula E history?
Lucas?
Lucas. So Natalie has, Nikki, has gone with Lucas. And then who's got the most amount of fan boosts?
I think that's Lucas as well.
Are you going to go for Lucas on that one? How old is the oldest hamster in the world? Or was
112?
112? That's unreal.
I rate that.
Oh my god. I'm sorry, that's brilliant. And then that's got me that one. And then the amount of teeth Pico saved me.
Yeah.
Sorry?
The most amount of teeth in a human ever. It's a 7-year-old boy in India. How many teeth do you think he had?
24.
24. Okay. Nikki, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your birthday. Thank you so much for coming on the show there at the end.
No problem.
Okay, so I suppose drum roll, please.
Okay. I can give you in reverse order the fastest lap.
And I'll tick them off.
Okay. So here we go. Top 7 most fastest laps. With 4, we've got Antonio Felix da Costa.
4. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. With 6 fastest laps, we have John Eric Verne. 7 fastest laps, Mitch Evans.
No one said Evans.
9 fastest laps, Jake Dennis. Also on 9 fastest laps, Sebastian Buemi. So that's our third place man. 10 fastest laps, we've got Sam Bird.
So that means...
And then finally, on 11 fastest laps, I think this is definitely the most that I've found, it's Lucas Di Grassi.
So it's Lucas Di Grassi, and Nikki had that. So Lucas Di Grassi has...
Where was Rene Rast in that?
Rene Rast?
Hold on. Yeah, I remember Rast got a few fastest laps.
Rast had like 6 in a season.
He did, but unfortunately he only did about 2 seasons, so...
Yeah, I know. You didn't say
here we go.
Started with 4.
Rene Rast, I've got 3 for him, actually.
3?
It's quite surprising. Unless I've misread it here.
Well, Nikki, congratulations. The Nikki 94. You got that one correct. So where you said Lucas Di Grassi, the only person to say Lucas, and Nikki said it as well right at the end. So Lucas as well.
I thought
so Nikki got it.
I can't remember who Chris said. I think
Chris said Buemi, and first Chris said Sam Bird.
That was it. Yeah. So Bird was almost
right. Fan boost. Who was the most amount of fan boosts?
Okay, I think I might have written 8 down here instead of 7, but at 8th I've got
just tell us
8
the first one.
boosts.
Just tell us the first one.
Oh, the first. You want me to skip to number 1?
Just go to number 1.
Okay.
We're running out
50,
of time.
almighty 56 fan boosts. We got Stoffel Van Dorn.
So it was Van Dorn. Who was second?
The second was a tie between Antonio Felix da Costa and Lucas Di Grassi on 53 each.
No one said da Costa, so it was actually quite... Because you said the top 3 were quite tight, so therefore those...
I was thinking it was Jev.
Yeah,
Jev has 25, which is ironically also his race number. Also interesting ones, we've got Buemi 41, Apt 38, which were all ones we mentioned. De Vries had 29, which is quite surprising given he wasn't around for too many seasons before Fanboost was scrapped. And Sam Bird had 14.
And we actually had the correct answer for the hamster question. Someone did get the correct answer. And Chris was brilliant, right? Because he said, he methodically went through and said 2, 3, 4, 5 years, that's how long they live for. 17, he said. If he had went with his gut, he could have got the right answer, because Saz got the right answer. The oldest a hamster has ever lived is 4 years. Hamsters only have a life expectancy of 2 years. Right, it's a rodent. It has a life expectancy of 2 years. So the 112 years. 112 years.
Honestly, I salute the hell out of Nikki.
So that was hilarious. It just tickled me. Chris tickled me as well with 17. The 8's, the single digit one's not too bad, to be honest with you. Right, Saz got that one. Well done, Saz. And then the most amount of teeth.
Let me tell you, no one got anywhere close.
We're even 122?
No.
Wow.
So, I learned this through the Chase bloopers show, couple years ago, because Brad obviously completely lost it whilst reading the questions, seeing the answers. The kid had 526 teeth.
526.
526 teeth.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Imagine those dental bills, man.
Wow.
Yeah, no, mental.
Did Saz get banned? Piece of cake. It said stop spamming emotes. I don't think she got banned. Did she get timed out? Oh, I gotta look at Nightbot.
It's gone rogue. It's even more rogue than me, which is saying something.
Saz has got a couple of warnings.
So did anyone Was that just completely
No,
pointless?
No. Well, Saz got one right. We got 3 of the 4 questions. We got a right answer to. So, and it was just.
And some people were very, very close as well.
It was just a bit of fun. So, I suppose that's it from us.
People are shocked about 526.
Yeah.
Genuinely Google it. If you even just Google 526 teeth, I'm sure it'll come up.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't think Edison believes you from the looks of things. Face one. I might have been a little drunk. I think I got the gist of it.
Google it. But yeah, I suppose all that's left for us to say is a massive thank you for tonight. Again, privilege having Mark Preston on. And thank you to all of you for coming on and saying, "Oh, we got a last minute. Should we try and last minute edition?
Hello,
another cat, and a picture into Pico's.
I'm hoping that will look all right. How is that looking?
Yeah, the cat is fine.
He's snuggling against my Oxford United top.
There you go. That was worn yesterday.
But yeah,
he's trying to eat it.
Put it in the wash.
Oh, look at him go.
That's what he's saying. He's saying put it in the wash. Terrible.
No.
But anyway, right, and on that bombshell.
We'll end with Tigger.
And on that cat mode, we'll end it there. Thank you so much for watching. This has been the FE Bar. Please, if you haven't hit the like and subscribe button, if you're not liked and subscribed, please do. If you're not in the Discord, please join the Discord. It's a great place to be. Thank you so much. We'll be back after the Berlin E-Prix for another show reacting to the double header. We will see you then. Good night.
I just need to look at the camera.